While he's doing that, we can get started with the invocation. Linda, could you lead us in the invocation this evening?
Joshua 1:9, be strong, be brave, be fearless. You are never alone. Father, we call upon your name and know that your presence is here in this meeting tonight. Thank you that we are not alone. 1 Thessalonians 5:15, see that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. Lord, we pray for each one in this community. Change our endeavors and direction from inward to outward, that we would pay attention to those around us who need comfort, friendship, and help. Change our hearts to be soft to others. Change our heads to think of others, not of just ourselves. Change our hands to do whatever it takes to show we care. Lord, I ask that as a community, you challenge our hearts to become people helping people. I pray that you fill us with integrity, kindness, support, fairness, truth, and brotherly and sisterly love. Help those here in this meeting to set the standards and implement strategies. Thank you, Lord, that our identity as a city is the sum of our strengths and beauty, not of our weaknesses and problems. Remind us every day that our differences as a people are one of our strengths. Lord, keep our eyes and hearts fixed on you and not on the negative. Where we struggle with forgiveness, please, Lord, soften our hearts. Lord, I pray that you would encourage the hearts and minds of all here at this meeting who feel caught up in the feelings of drudgery and overload as they are constantly in the public arena and as they juggle home life with work life. Give them courage and steadfastness. I ask that you help each member of this council to receive an extra measure of cooperation, resilience, skill, determination, and intentionality. Fill them, Lord, with a renewed sense of purpose. What they do every day makes a difference. And Lord, you chose them individually to do the specialized work that they are doing. Lord, keep their minds and hearts on you and who you are. Fill them with your love and overflow them with joy. And thank you for your presence tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Linda. So now we'll officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller.
Here.
Alderpersons Borneman.
Here.
McClanathan.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Busker.
Here.
Brashaw.
Here.
Meisig.
Here.
And Berberet.
Here.
If you could all stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Busker. Item number 1 this evening is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion for such an approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Busker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the council meeting on July 15th, 2019. Is there a motion for this?
So moved.
Second.
A motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Meisig. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Public comments. No one was signed in on public comments, so we'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. All the items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature unless there's a member of the council who would like to have something removed for further discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the consent agenda consists of the approval and to place on file number 1, Rebecca Watley's report to the mayor and the manager for July 24th, 2019. The police chief William Fython employment agreement July 17th, 2019. The planning and the liquor commission meetings on June 13th, 2019. The historic preservation commission minutes from June 18th, 2019. The fire department reports for June 2019. Resolution 2019-37, which is a request for temporary closure of streets for the Kobe Smith Memorial 4-mile Classic Run on August 24th, 2019. GovHR agreement for the police chief search. And item number B, which is the approval of the finance bills payable in the total of $1,185,390.94, and the approval of payroll for pay period ending July 20th, 2019 in the total of $562,346.71. Is there a motion for this approval?
So moved.
Seconded.
A motion made by Alderman Berberet, seconded by Alderman Ross. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberet.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
We also have an appointment. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Effective meeting immediately, I, W.L. Anderson, City Clerk, appoint Rhea Cameron as Deputy Clerk.
Is there a motion for this approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Brashaw for the approval of this appointment. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberet.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The appointment is approved 8-0.
Chief, you want to join us? Would you like Roy to join us as well? I mean, she did put up with you for a long time.
So it's my pleasure to start here, and one of the things that I'm bringing here, when, my other communities I've served with, is a tradition that when the chief of police retires after services, the gift that the city gives to him is his service weapon. So we've, Todd, we want to formally present the service weapon to you.
Thank you.
So it's yours.
Everybody can see you.
It's safe. It's safe, and it's a pleasure, and it was a great honor to serve with you. And this is for me. It's best wishes, congratulations on your retirement to Chief Todd Barclow with gratitude for years of service and dedication. And it's signed by both myself and the mayor. And the mayor has a presentation to you as well.
Thank you so much.
Well, Chief, you know, like I said before, we absolutely love you and wish you nothing but the best, and we are grateful for all the years that you have given to us. We just have a small token of our appreciation to you, so I'd like to read this. Police Chief Todd Barclow, congratulations on your retirement, August 2nd, 2019. For over 25 years, you have served the Freeport Police Department and the community with honor, dedication, and selflessness. Well done, now good and faithful servant.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I
Todd's not going to have a chance to get out of here quite yet because one of the service awards we're giving tonight is for Aaron Dykema. So, Aaron, if you could come up. Where are you?
He's coming.
Oh, there he is. So, and we thought it was only fitting that Todd do this on his last day. So, Aaron Dykema, this recognizes that you for 20 years of service as of August 30th, 2019, the city of Freeport. So this, congratulations. And you also get 20, I think there's 20 GFP bucks in there you can spend on any of the GFP members, but I'll turn it over to the chiefs.
Aaron, hey man, Aaron Dykeman's been not just a
So we have 3 more service awards. Timothy Anninger, is he up?
Randicker.
Oh, there he goes. All right. So this is to recognize you for 10 years of service as of August 18th in 2009 with the city of Freeport. And then you have $10 for the GFP, and I'll let Chief talk a little bit about you.
Firefighter paramedic Timothy Randicker, hard charged go-getter, hired on August 18th, 2019. He's got 10 years on the job. This seasoned veteran is a technician level team member on our specialty teams, and he recently completed his fire officer 2 class, so he's getting ready to move up the ladder. I hope I had the opportunity to work with this gentleman for a long time, and thank you very much for your service during the anniversary.
Brett, come on up, Brett. It's Brett Hartwig. I always screw up your last name. I'm sorry about that, Brett. Congratulations. This is to recognize and thank you for 20 years of service as of August 9th, 2019 with the city of Freeport. So congratulations. And you also get 20 Greater Freeport Partnership bucks.
Congratulations. Many of you don't know, but Brett was the first chief officer I met coming to Freeport. I happened to come into town. We were looking for a home, just looking around, trying to get an idea where things might lay out for us. And I stopped by the station just to visit, and Brett was the person who welcomed me in. What a fantastic first impression, and I appreciate his partnership and helping me and welcoming me into the department. District Chief Brett Hartwig, hired on August 9th, 1999. He's got 20 years on the job. He was promoted lieutenant December 6th, 2012. Captain 11-14 to 2016, and District Chief 5-7-18. He's a seasoned veteran of the United States Army, so can we give him a round of applause for that? Army 95, and then the National Guard 95 and 99. He's got a bachelor's of management degree, and with him today is his children, Alyssa and Courtney. Are you here to wave, kids? All right, thank you. And I have to apologize to him for not introducing your kids, Ava and Deacon. Where are they? Way back there. All right. He's a few cookies heavier. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Jack Heights. Congratulations, Jack. It's to recognize and thank you for 25 years of service on August 13th of 2019 with the city of Freeport. Congratulations.
Lieutenant Jack Heights, his hired date is August 13th of 1994. He's got 25 years on. Promotions to lieutenant, 5-7-18. He serves as a paramedic. He's a technician level member of our specialty teams. He's a fire service instructor at the Illinois Fire Service Institute, passing on the knowledge, one of the most loyal things and honorable things a firefighter can do. He's got a bachelor's degree, and he serves
Congratulations and well done to all of you. So if you want, we'll give you a few minutes if you want to head out, or if you want to stick around for the meeting, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay, council, item number 8 is the second reading of ordinance 2019-39. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Ordinance amending section 480.111, which is prohibited parking streets of the codified ordinances of the city of Freeport.
And since Director Carr isn't here this evening, Manager Crowe will take all of his little places. So, Manager Crowe.
Yeah, I'm older and less good-looking than Dennis, so it's so this is the parking ordinance for the area. We have had sent along La Cresta. We have sent out letters to everybody. We did get one resident contact us that is concerned about the area, and Dennis did talk to them. They're concerned that everybody will be parking along La Cresta in front of his driveway. And then we also, this includes the Hancock Avenue west side from Stevenson and Empire Street. But we have contacted the one resident, all the residents, and we did get one back. And we also, so we recommend approval. This is the second reading of this ordinance.
Council.
So moved. Recommend approval.
Well, we don't need that, but just if there's any further discussion. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the passage?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Boardman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 8-0.
Item number 9 is the second reading of ordinance 2019-40. Could you please read this?
An ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Freeport in relation to multiple recently annexed properties.
Thank you. Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, these are the zoning recommendations for the donut hole properties that we recently annexed in. The recommendations, again, come to you from staff as well as Planning Commission that held a couple public hearings on this in June and July, as well as the Zoning Board of Appeals. The original memo, and I think last time I said ZBA voted 5-0. At their meeting last week, they reflected their minutes. It was actually a 4-1 vote, so I wanted to at least reflect that to you this evening. Other than that, nothing's changed since the first reading.
Do you know what the reason was for the one?
He didn't give a reason.
Council.
Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan.
do you believe you've been able to adequately address any and all questions from the impacted owners regarding these changes?
Yes.
Further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, Clerk.
I may be heard wrong. So, Director Zupkoff, it should read 4-1 in the minutes or 4-0?
At ZBA, it was 4-1 voted.
ZBA, 4-1. Okay, thank you.
Well, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the passage?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 8-0.
Item number 10 is the second reading of ordinance 2019-41. Could you please read this?
An ordinance granting a variance from section 1270.03 pertaining to maximum height of fences in rear yards for property located at 500 West South Street in Freeport.
Thank you. Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, this is a request for a 7.5-foot fence, which exceeds the 6-foot limit in our zoning ordinance. It's at 500 West South Street, which is the Morse Group. Again, they want to connect it on to a 7.5-foot generator screening just to have a uniform fence on the entire property. And again, nothing's changed on this since the first reading. Haven't had any other resident feedback or anything like that in the last couple of weeks.
Thank you. Council. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the passage?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berbere.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Abstain.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0 with one abstention.
And item number 11 is the second reading of ordinance 2019-42. Could you please read this?
An ordinance granting a variance from Section 1254D pertaining to front and side yards for property located at 337, 302 through 360, 368, and 380 South Hancock Avenue in Freeport.
Thank you. Director Supkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, this is a variance to the setbacks at the city's wastewater treatment plant on Hancock and some of the city-owned lots around there. It will allow the city to maximize space and usage for solar arrays. That will make the plant more energy efficient by 64%. And like the others, I haven't had any resident feedback since the first reading on this one.
Comments, council?
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
thank you. Just reiterate on that. And Andrew, I'm sorry, I've lost a name there. You did contact all the residential neighbors around there and to ask their opinion, correct?
As required by ordinance, they were all mailed certified and first-class letters at least 15 days prior to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it was also published in the Journal Standard at least 15 days before that public hearing.
Thank you.
Anything further, council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berbere.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 12 is the first reading of ordinance 2019-43. Could you please read this?
An ordinance of the City of Freeport approving and authorizing the city to enter into an addendum/amendment to master tax exempt lease/purchase agreement, property schedule number 5, and related documents thereto with U.S. Bancorp Government Leasing and Finance regarding hook lift trucks.
Thank you. Manager Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the last council meeting, the council approved the bid awarding U.S. Bank the lease agreement. This is actually the approval of the lease agreement. It's divided up over $21,589 over per quarter over the 7 years. You will see there is a one different document that we haven't seen in previous lease agreements, which is a document because we are not actually taking delivery of the truck until February. It basically holds the money in escrow until we need to pay for the purchase of the truck, even though we'll start paying on the lease. Director Bucas has actually talked directly with U.S. Bank and their leasing department on that, if anybody has any questions on that.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
thank you. So this is to order the truck and
No.
they're working on it?
No, the truck's already been ordered. This is the lease agreement to pay for the leasing of it. But since we've approved it, the money will actually will not be needed until at some time at a later date. We're taking delivery of the two trucks in February. So they've established an escrow account until we take delivery.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman.
Mr. Crowe, I assume in the ordinance it says the link we have mentions in Exhibit A. Those are the agreements we've already reviewed.
Those are actually the agreements that you should also have attached in there, which is the lease agreements, or the most current is on their dais. And the most current
Okay.
ones on which you have presented to you. There was an error in it that we found after we had sent the links out to you.
All right.
Aaron was reviewing it.
Thanks for clarifying.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
thank you. Manager Crowe, what was that error? Because, I mean, there are, what, 46 pages, 41 pages to go over here. Is there something that we should draw
It
attention
had to
to?
be, there was an error on one of the dates.
The August 6th.
Yeah, the
That's
August.
all it was.
It was. That's all the issue was.
And
Yep.
I apologize, but I panicked seeing this 41-page contract in front of me thinking, what did I miss?
No, so this contract's been and you should have gotten the original attachment.
Right.
And so
I do have
there was a
the
date change that we had to make based upon the approval, the first reading of the ordinance, and when we go forward with this. So the contract has been reviewed both by myself, Aaron, and Randy as we go forward.
Okay. And just so you know, I do trust you. It's just that when we have 41 pages thrown at us, that might be different, but I can't see it. Thank you.
That's why we didn't see it the first time either.
Any further discussion, council?
Madam Mayor, are you looking for a motion to move this forward?
Yes.
I would like to make that motion.
Second.
Unless there's further discussion, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Ross, to move ordinance 2019-43 onto the next regularly scheduled meeting. Item number 13 is the first reading of ordinance 2019-44. Please read this.
An ordinance authorizing the sale of certain items of personal property owned by the city of Freeport.
Manager Crow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we've been doing about once a quarter, we go through and determine what excess property we have. And this is the authorization so we can go out for bid for the property. It includes toner cartridges for printers that we no longer have. The big item here is the light bus that is being required to us to be declared in surplus as part of the Pretzel City Transit. That's the Ford E350 light. That is actually will not go out for bid, but will be actually transferred to another community. But we have to declare it in surplus before we go. The other vehicles, the other three vehicles, will be put up for bid. None of them are in very good running condition, but we do have people that buy them for parts. And as always, when we put them up for bid, if there's no bids, then we dispose of the equipment.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you. Manager Crow, where are these items advertised where the public can observe them?
So they are not currently advertised. Once you approve, we'll advertise them in both the Journal Standard and the Rockford paper, as well as our website as we go up.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw.
One more question. Manager Crow, when they find these vehicles on the website, do they arrange then with staff to go visualize them and drive them and all that?
Well, some of them may not be able to be driven, but we do allow them to be inspected. With any of the surplus equipment, they can contact the staff and they inspect the equipment.
So the public would just make that appointment then,
Right.
in case I'm asked. Thank you so much.
Mayor.
Alderman Burberry.
Manager Crow, just interested on the second page, your items 8 through 17. These are all laser jet printers. Every one is different, which means over time, City Hall was buying this, that, and the other thing. Is there any effort to get them all like the same model for the same purpose?
So when I got here, the first thing I did was establish an IT department. There was not an each, because prior to that, and we centralized purchasing of all equipment under a single department, because each department was buying their own equipment. So we had different style printers, we had different style machines. So now we're standardizing them. They all go through Kurt and Eric, even the police department, and we've gotten standardization. We've also have a replacement plan.
Okay.
When I got here, we had computers that were still running Windows 98.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Busker.
motion to move it forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman McClanathan, to move ordinance 2019-44 onto the next scheduled meeting. Item number 14 is the first reading of ordinance 2019-45. Madam Clerk, would you please read this?
An ordinance amending Section 1060.04 of the codified ordinances of the City of Freeport regarding garbage collection charges.
Thank you. Director Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. With the proposed new contract for refuse service, the cost to collect will also go up. Fortunately, the new contract has future dates, has future refuge dates built into the contract, so we know what our costs are going to be. The first year of the contract will see single-family home refuge rate go from $12.63 to $16.75 per month. The beginning of the contract has a steep increase compared to what residents are paying now. This increase levels off in the next few years after that. The Health and Environmental Fund, which pays the refuge invoices from fees collected through the utility billing system, is established as an enterprise fund. As an enterprise fund, the Health and Environmental Fund should sustain itself, be self-reliant, and run like a business. Unfortunately, in the past and in the continuing future, the fund will rely on the general fund to make up shortfalls in the revenue. Because of this situation, we are asking City Council to suspend the rules and approve first and second readings tonight. We also, through the fees, although the fees are retroactive from August 1st, it will not be enough to cover all our costs for this first month. Our first bill went out for August, went out last Friday. We do have 10 billing cycles, so we're going to be short even without the increase in the fees this month.
Questions, Council?
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Bradshaw?
Thank you. Director Bucas, is the money then coming from the general fund to make up the cost difference? Or are we looking at post-dating some of this to collect the fees from the consumers?
No, it'll be coming out of the general fund.
That's what I thought.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan?
Thank you. And Manager Crow, we were having this ordinance reflecting these rates because, one, we approved in principle this rate structure after negotiations of an extensive period of time, and then had directed the administration to execute the contract. And we also had the contract later on tonight for approval. And so this is reflective of the rates as established in the contract and as previously have been approved by council.
That's correct. This reflects that, as well as this reflects the rates that were approved within the contract, as well as our administrative fee that we had added on to here to the execution. And so everybody, so the council's aware, the administrative fee we're charging will not, as we get closer to the landfill closure, it will not cover all of our landfill out of there. So we're going to have, so that's kind of built in the gradual increase in the out years as we go forward in the fee is to move forward for the landfill closure. We have to make up that difference in the maintenance of the landfill. And that's in anticipation that we will ultimately be closing the transfer station. And if we go back in the contract, one of the reopeners is if either party decides to close the transfer station or not keeping it operating.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Bradshaw?
Thank you. Manager Crow, is it true that even with the increase in fee structure, we are still approximately $2 to $2.25 behind Rockford's fee structure, even with the CPI built in?
Well, actually, Rockford today is charging almost $22 for their garbage, so we're well behind them. The $2, we're approximately $2.50 behind what Pekin is charging, which is the last major contract that was negotiated for a community of our size. And they're actually increasing $1.50 per year going out. So,
follow up, please. My understanding was that with the increase, paying $16.75, we would be approximately $2.25 behind.
Rockford's almost $22 is their fee.
Thank you for that information. Madam Mayor,
Alderman Bradshaw?
I'd like to make a motion to move this forward.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Bradshaw, seconded by Alderman Misick to move ordinance 2019-45 on to the next regular scheduled meeting. However, Finance Department has asked for a suspension of the rules.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan?
And to clarify, you're looking for suspension of the rules because all of the terms have been settled amongst the parties, and the implementation and the impact that it has on the environmental fund versus the general fund and things of that nature, just since nothing is going to change in regards to this at this point, we've been talking about it at some level for 4 or 5, you guys have been talking about it for longer than that in negotiations, but for us, maybe 4 months or so, just to get a start date on that here in August, as opposed to having to wait another month.
That's correct, because the refuge contract begins August 1st.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Busker.
Yes. Talked about raising the rates, when we were talking about that, the start date for the toters, is that going to move up too?
So the start date, the delivery of the toters will be the second week in September. They did not want to go forward and order the toters until the contract was approved. So it's a 45-day delivery time from them for the approval of the contract.
Follow up?
Mm-hmm.
So people will be seeing their bills increase before the toters show up?
Well, it's all built into the cost. The cost of the toters is built into this cost.
Thank you.
Alderman Borneman.
Oh, he answered. asked
And
and
did
answered my
Alderman
question.
Misick, did you ask something too?
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, council, before you is a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Misick to suspend the rules. Suspension of the rules must pass by a 2/3 majority and is non-debatable. So, Madam Clerk, could you please take the passage of suspension of the rules only?
Busker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Misick,
Aye.
Berberay,
Aye.
Borneman,
Aye.
McClanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Suspension of the rules passes 8-0.
So now before you, council, is the second reading of ordinance 2019-45 for final passage this evening. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the final passage?
Busker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Misick,
Aye.
Berberay,
Aye.
Borneman,
Aye.
McClanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
and Parker.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 15 is the adoption of Resolution 2019-32. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving intergovernmental agreement with Illinois Department of Natural Resources regarding application for the fiscal year 2019 flood mitigation program.
Thank you. Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. This intergovernmental agreement with IDNR would allow them to reimburse us a total of $224,780 for the city to acquire 58 trustee-owned properties in the floodway and demolish structures when they're present. Which of those 58 properties, 10 of them have buildings on them currently. The reimbursement agreement covers all aspects of acquiring and demolition properties, everything from the asbestos work, the actual demolition, any reshaping of the property, as well as other things like legal fees, any work that needs to be done to the title, legal description, recording costs, appraisal costs, so on and so forth, and any other similar expenses. We would ask for approval of this intergovernmental agreement.
Thank you. Council.
Mayor.
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you, Director and/or Manager Crow. In this agreement, it explicitly states that no properties will be taken by eminent domain under this, correct?
Yes.
Follow-up. There's a projected cost of $224,780, but then it looks like later on page 4, paragraph C3, it authorizes like no reimbursement past $434,000. Are we comfortable with those figures?
We are. It's built in a buffer within there, but the anticipated reimbursement amount will be the 200. We have a fixed cost on these properties because they are trustee properties. We already know the cost to purchase these properties is $54,000. $54,600 in total. The cost will be the various in demo and tear down. So
Mayor, for the follow-up? Okay. So two things then. These properties are all ones that are trustee properties right now?
That's right.
So Anybody looking at this and listening to this is not part of any of the negotiated prices for buying houses. This is totally separate, just trustee-owned properties.
That's right.
So the idea behind this with the trustee properties, as we go through the pre-disaster mitigation grant, it allows us to take those properties off that pre-disaster mitigation grant, so that gives us more money to put towards our limit on that grant towards the actual purchase of residential properties. We have an additional IDNR grant that's
DCEO.
Or DECO grant, well, I was thinking about the other IDNR that we've applied. We've applied for a second IDNR grant that's dealing with a couple of the properties that have gone on the trustee sale since we originally submitted these.
Final follow-up, Mayor? Yes. I also wanted to note on here, because there had been some questions asked about, when the city acquires the title of the property, what's going to happen. And it appears that it has a clause in there that says if it needs to be maintained as public open space, and if it doesn't, it'll revert back to the department. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right, and that's pretty much the same thing with the pre-disaster mitigation too. There's not really anything you can do in a floodway other than open space or green space, and that's our intent, so no issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Mayor. Art.
Oh, I'm sorry, Art.
I'm still here.
Alderman Ross.
No, my question is, how did you come up with the figure? Did bids go out or what?
No, so that they give, IDNR sets the value. What we did was we got the value that the tax trustee set on to purchase the properties. We included that, and then we looked at what the average cost of our demos in the other area and submitted that with the grant. And then IDNR established what they believed was the level in which that should cost us both to do asbestos abatement as well as the demo.
Okay, and then as the same as Alderman McClellan's question was, once the property is demolished, the land is there, it cannot be used for anything else at all, no way, shape, and or form.
That's correct. Without direct permission of IDNR.
That is correct. That is correct. Thank you.
Manager Crowe, in all the stuff that I've read, it says it's an intergovernmental agreement, but you just used the word grant.
No,
I just want to be clear. This is not something we have to pay back. This is
No.
okay. So grant is
The intergovernmental agreement is because we have to keep this as open and green space in perpetuity. So.
Yeah, it works like a grant, but for some reason it wasn't defined by IDNR as a grant, but it works pretty much just the same as any reimbursable grant.
so it's something that the city receives and we don't have to pay it back. We just follow the guidelines.
We incur the original cost. We submit invoices and receipts to IDNR, and they reimburse us.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, one more question.
Yes.
Okay, after these properties are, everything is, they're torn down, who will be in charge of, not to say maintenance, but who will be in charge to oversee over the property then?
Ultimately, we're hoping to transfer these into the land bank to oversee the properties as we are, but until that happens, and turn them into green spaces, and then but until that happens, the city is responsible for them. The reason is the land bank can be used to sell if we have green space wetlands credits, which is an option.
Okay, follow up, Mayor. Okay, with that being said, when you say sell, but we just...
So what we do is that area is designated as a wetland.
Correct.
So when a community has to develop a wetland area, they have to go out and purchase credits from communities that have wetlands.
Right.
So what our concept is that we will use the money if this area becomes wetlands credits to go forward and continue to work that towards purchasing all of the properties out there.
Yes. So at no, follow up, Mayor. So at no time, the only thing it can be used for the entire life of the property was is wetland.
That's correct.
That's one of the questions that's going to be asked. That's why I'm trying to clarify it right now.
It is
It's
wetland,
only
they are wetlands, green space wetlands.
Greens, okay.
Mayor, sorry, I'm not too familiar with the wetland credit systems. Is that kind of like a, you know, you hear like the carbon tax system?
It is.
So like municipality X wants to develop land that's currently in a wetland in municipality X. Freeport has a bunch of wetland on here that isn't used, and we get a credit for maintaining it as a
Maintaining it
wetland,
as
so
a
they
wetland.
can get rid of their wetland
That's
over there.
correct.
And you think that could be used as a source of financing for some of the other,
For purchasing and demoing the other
okay.
properties.
all right, thank you.
Madam Mayor? Thank you. How many parcels are there exactly? I see that there's 10 structures that need to be tore down. I was just curious.
It's a
It's a
58,
total of 58, exactly, yep.
So 58 parcels?
Mhm.
And may I continue, please? Do you have the demo bids for the buildings at this time?
They have not been bidded out yet. We weren't able to perform any work on this, including putting out for bid until this intergovernmental agreement was adopted.
One more follow-up. So if this is adopted by the council, then you will go out for those bids at that time, and that works into the price of what they're helping us with?
Yes. And as the city manager mentioned, we started this process by submitting them a draft budget, and we were pretty liberal, going as high as we could on what a demolition might cost, and they really didn't make any revisions before sending this back. So we're very confident that the price of the demolitions won't exceed this, because we were more liberal and expansive in our estimates.
and so, and the one thing I'll add is, for Illinois Department of Natural Resources, that they are very supportive, because this is the very first time that Freeport's ever gone out and done this program.
Madam Mayor. What are some of the, I know there's somebody out in the viewing audience want to know this, because I do too. What are some of the locations that we're speaking of?
Oh, well, the list was, yeah, okay, here it is. Yeah, the list is Appendix A within the agreement. So it's several. It's pretty much every street over there in the floodway: Henderson, Crocker, Park, Adelbert, Warren, Wilbers, Stevenson. So we weren't just going after just one or two streets. It really runs the gamut of locations in the floodway.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the question right here.
Mhm.
I see, as I see him right here, okay, yeah, that would be, okay.
And all but 10 of these properties are already vacant.
That is correct. Yes, they are. They're very big.
And the reason why we started doing this, when I first got here, we had trustees for sale signs throughout that whole area, and they basically people were land speculators, were purchasing the properties and then coming to us to try and put
Refurbish.
building permits, and we were denying them, so they would let the taxes go on them again.
Well, with all due respect, these properties were not able to build anything on. I know.
But these were out-of-town land speculators who were purchasing these
And
things.
stay out of town. But, I mean, with all due respect.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Bradshaw.
With all the discussion, I learned a great deal. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution R-2019-32 as written.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Bradshaw, seconded by Alderman Ross, for the adoption of Resolution 2019-32. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 8-0.
Item number 16 is the adoption of Resolution 2019-38. Could you please read this?
Resolution of the City of Freeport authorizing and approving a contract for residential garbage, recycling materials, and landscape waste collection and disposal services with Mooring Gills Environmental Services.
Thank you. Manager Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to first thank Aaron Zito. He has been a big help as we've gone through this, but this is negotiated the contract with them. We had 3 sticking points as we went forward. One was the term of the contract, and we've gotten that established. The second one is there is a reopener clause from both the garbage haulers, so if the state laws or garbage laws change in what they can pick up, they can reopen it. And if we do not get a bidder or they decide not to build on the transfer station, then we can reopen it and start negotiations. And then the firm that owns Gills is based out of Texas, and they do not. That's a right-to-work state, and we had to negotiate with them so that the language is. So if Illinois changes under the current nature changes, currently garbage contracts are exempt from prevailing wage, but if that law changes, this allowed in the contract that they would have to pay prevailing wage as we go forward. Other than that, it does establish the second toter. If a person wants to purchase a second toter, they can do that. That's an additional $10 a month on their bill for the second toter. It also does away with the tags for garbage bags, and establishes the toters assigned to each residential unit by code, so they'll get both a recycling as well as a garbage toter. It also changes the hours of operation. It actually by 1/2 hour.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you. Manager Crowe, I did go through my notes. I had to dig through several file cabinets to find them, but it was in 2015 under Mayor Gitz that I was receiving all the complaints about the garbage pickup that happened before 5 a.m. And I tell you, they'd call me. They'd call me at 4:45 a.m., 4:50 a.m., 4:53 a.m. every week. And they will not be happy with this. And I'm not opposed to this contract. Believe me, I know you have negotiated, and I believe it's a good contract. But I have a feeling I'm still going to have some battles with my constituents, and I just wanted you to be aware of that.
So the reason it was set at the time it was because the same driver will go around and make the first route to pick up the garbage, and then the second round will go back and pick up at the recycling.
Thank you.
Alderman Burberry.
Manager Crowe, would you clarify when you said the second toter would be $10 per month?
That's correct.
But it says here that each household or residents will get 2 toters
What?
to begin with.
That's if you buy a second garbage toter. So the first.
Oh, if I have a lot of garbage, I got to buy
If you have
second.
a lot of garbage.
Same as I do now for yard waste.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Ross.
Yeah, okay, Manager Correll just asked this the other day ago. Brush. Will brush be allowed to be put in one of the toters?
It's the yard waste is being handled in the same manner it was before, which is you pay for the yard waste and it goes in. Now, if you can put the brush, they request that everything that goes into the toter is being bagged. If you can bag it up, cut it up, and put it into the toter, they'll take it.
Okay.
It has to be in a bag.
It has to be bagged, but I gotta ask this, if it's, follow up, Mayor, if it's not baggable, say it's hedges or something like that, or,
Well, if it's outside the toter,
Right.
they won't pick it up.
they won't pick it up. Do we have we come up with a remedy, shall we say?
So as we
Tree limb,
as I sent out a memo to council where the staff is looking at possible solutions as we go forward. There is cost associated with that,
right,
and we are
working on it.
working it.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about that landscape fee that you can do through the summer? How does that work, Manager Crowe?
So you actually you pay for a toter for landscape material, and the toter's put out. It's the day, depends on the neighborhood. I know in my neighborhood, it's the day after they pick up garbage. I don't know if that's true with
Mine
in
is
all
the
the same day. So you put it out, they pick it up in the afternoon, or
Early morning.
I guess it depends on what the neighborhood is. So, but it's a separate toter. It looks has a different color lid.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same size toter, and you put the,
And that's a yearly fee?
it's spread over
Spread over summer,
summer.
or they start pickup in
And it's billed,
April and they end in early November.
it's billed directly to the resident.
So there is a solution right now, Alderman Ross. It's just that you have to pay this extra fee.
Right.
Madam Mayor, may I interject a little bit?
Sure.
I believe it was $110 per season. It was from April through November, up to sticks up to 1.5 inches wide, and they had to fit in the toter with the lid closed. And you could do leaves, flower garden waste, whatever, grass clippings, but they did limit the size of the sticks that could go in there. And the toter does not necessarily pick up the day after garbage day, because my garbage day is Monday, and my landscape waste is Wednesday. So it just depends on what day they have for your neighborhood. Thank you.
No,
Mayor?
thank you. That is that's the answer I was looking for.
Okay.
And Alderman Misick?
Thank you. Just to note, it's 2.25 section on page 8 does define the landscape waste here as the hedge trimmings, grass clippings, leaves, but excluding tree limbs over 4 inches in diameter and 48 inches in length. So it looks as though this goes to a higher extent within this contract. So was this at all discussed in the negotiations as to how they could go that high?
They're the ones that proposed to increase it, so, the size, so we didn't. That was not, we wanted to keep it the same. They were the ones who changed the language on it. So, and my opinion, if the contractor wants to increase the language, make it better, I'm not gonna argue with him.
Sure. Follow up?
Sure.
So if, assuming we approve as is on this contract as presented, does this lock us in, like, if we had an additional program that was on top of this service, are they counting on this service to be provided for profit?
The yard waste is not what they're, that is an extra benefit that they get, an extra cost. What they are running their whole is on the garbage and recycling. And
Okay.
so in the
Thank you.
transfer station.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Burberry?
Just a detail, will the yard waste toters be the same in new and enlarged as the garbage and recycle toters?
I thought we were told they were gonna be that they're the same size.
It's a 96, 94 gallon?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Busker?
Yes, you said the reasoning for the change in time from 5 o'clock to 4:30 was to accommodate for a driver doing the route twice. What time are they gonna be run until at night?
5.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Parker?
I see there's a 10, 12-page contract. I'm going to get a copy, but what I'd like to do is, if there's some way we can do an outline of the major changes, because I'm going to get a million questions, especially at the Neighborhood Watch, of where do you put them, what the price is, and instead of going through a long contract, if they could just an outline of the major changes that we could try to answer, I'd certainly appreciate it.
That's great.
So I've been working with a group outside the city to actually put a flyer that's going to be going out talking about it's an independent group that's been putting it together. It's going to talk about all that information. We additionally had handouts at the county fair dealing with the way to put toters out. And we'll continue to publicize that. We put it in a newsletter, and we'll continue to do that as well.
Okay, the fee is one thing, and it's all these other little things that we've been talking about here. To try to dig them out of a contract is easier if I get a sheet of just the highlights. Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Misick?
I believe this was discussed in a previous meeting. I don't recall the date. So distribution of toters, what is the timing of that?
It'll be the third week in September. They figure they can get the city covered in about 10 days. And then they'll start picking up toters the 1st of October.
Madam Mayor? Thank you. Manager Crowe, are they going to put this flyer out like with the water bill so they can enclose it within the same one, like in a colored paper or
We'll make
something?
sure, they've actually given us the direction on how to, the flyer already, and we can see if it can be included in the water bill.
With the contract? Okay, thank you.
Not with the contract. We won't send the whole contract out.
Well, no. Pardon me. Madam Mayor, may I continue? No, excuse me. I meant that you would send something that is part of the contract that we're not sending the contract, but that they would agree, the garbage supplier, picker-upper people would give you something.
They have already given us where the toters should be to us, so.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, council? Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-38?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Berberay, seconded by Alderman Borneman. Unless there's further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Russ.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 17 is the adoption of Resolution 2019-39. Could you please read this?
Resolution of the City of Freeport authorizing and approving an agreement with Willett Hoffman to provide engineering design services related to wall repairs at Old City Hall.
Thank you. Manager Crowe.
So as you're aware, we've presented this previously at the previous COW, Committee of the Whole, and you asked me to go back and negotiate it. We've reduced the cost by $9,000. The original cost was $29,000. The other thing is we put a paragraph in here that it's up to, so they're only going to charge us for the amount of hours that they are actually working to repair the wall and to get the bid package put together for us in reducing the costs. Some of the cost that was taken out is work that Director Carr can do as a civil engineer. As you have probably seen, some of the work, the city crews have already started doing some of the work next to the old City Hall wall. This is to look at really the stabilization and completing it. The one, and I made sure when I talked to him that we do coordinate with the owners of the property next to them. That's also key as we go forward. And I have talked to those owners as well.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you. Manager Crowe, I really appreciate your efforts in getting this bid reduced as much as you did. $9,000 is a lot of money to us. And I'm pleased to see that you got it just over $20,000. My question for you is this. I see it's divided into two phases, the bid and construction documents phase and the bid phase. Can you explain that to me, please?
So what the first phase is, they're actually going to x-ray the wall from both sides to determine the stabilization, how the wall is stabilized, use ultrasonic sound, and then determine the type of, develop and design a stabilization for it. The one owner also believes that his foundation may have been damaged when they tore down Old City Hall, and they're going to look into the foundation as well. That's one of the reasons why we cleared the sand out, and then we're now putting dirt in, but we were going to clear the sand out so they could take a better look at it as we went forward. And then design it, and then they're going to put the bid package together and do the bid opening for us.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman.
I just have a few questions, if I could just go there with follow-ups. So this is a bid for professional services, right?
That's correct.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be bid out. We're using the term bid, but it's not really
No, it's
bid
not
out.
right. It's a professional services. We had reached out, when I say bid, we reached out to several firms, and Willett Hoffman was the only one that was willing to work on this. Originally, Fairgrams said they would want to, but they would need to bring their expert out of Springfield. So Willett Hoffman we actually reached out to two firms in the Rockford area as well, and neither one of them were interested in bidding on it.
And the city has a good relationship and experience when working with Willett Hoffman.
Yes, they do all our bridge work for us and bridge inspection works. They're one of the only firms in the area that has, well, there are only two firms out of Rockford, and then they are one of the firms that have a structural engineer, which is what this requires.
And I know Mr. Carr isn't here, but you spoke with Director Carr. He seemed to think this was a fair price after the reduction.
He did. And he was involved in the renegotiation of this.
Thanks.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Bradshaw.
thank you. If they're done with the discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid opening as written.
Seconded.
Actually, would you like to make that as a motion for the adoption of the resolution?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm reading ahead. Resolution R-2019-39, thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Bradshaw, seconded by Alderman Borneman for the adoption of Resolution 2019-39. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker. Okay, we're going to go with a 7-0 approval on that resolution.
And number 18 is the approval of bids. This would be the bid opening from July 30th, 2019 for elevator inspector services. Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. On July 30th, so last week, the bid opening took place to provide elevator inspection services in the city of Freeport. We received one bid from Elevator Inspection Services, the same company that provides this service for the city of Rockford. And why I bring up Rockford, and we'll mention that a few times, is in the past several months, the Office of the State Fire Marshal, who provides elevator inspections around the state, they went to Rockford almost a year ago and encouraged Rockford to do that in-house with a company like EIS. And the reason is OSFM, the Office of the State Fire Marshal, understands that they're overworked and understaffed, and businesses around the state, including here in Freeport, because they're encouraging us to do this too, are not receiving the service that they deserve. They're sometimes having to wait weeks for elevator inspections when the state is doing it. So, you know, OSFM kind of throwing up their hands and saying this has become too much for us, and we would really like cities to do this themselves. And the scheduled fee that we received from EIS does mirror the one received and approved by the city of Rockford, so they're larger than us, but we're not going to have to pay anything more than them. It was the same prices across the board. If the city enters into an agreement with EIS, we would then be able to enter into an agreement with the Office of the State Fire Marshal. That's because EIS is certified in the state to do these elevator inspections, and we would also have to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city to conduct those inspections, and we'd be adopting and enforcing the rules of the state's elevator safety rules statute. And once again, OSFM is encouraging us to do this. Having elevator inspections done locally will be a benefit to our local business. In Rockford, an elevator inspection costs $132, and most of that stays with the city of Rockford, whereas OSFM charges $250 for that same service, and that money goes to OSFM. Also, having a local company like EIS, I believe they're inspectors out of Rockton, so not local, but more local than OSFM. They're able to be, again, much more responsive in performing inspections and re-inspections of elevators. To put it simply, whereas with OSFM it could take weeks to get an inspection or re-inspection, with us entering into a contract, it'll now take days for that inspection to take place. And we would ask for and council's approval of this bid award.
Thank you. Manager Crowe?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to add on to this how we got here. So he talked a little bit about OSFM. They were out inspecting elevators within the area, and she came into my office and into Andrew's office very firmly saying, look, I don't have time to inspect the elevators out here or re-inspect them. I am at the verge of failing 20 of the elevators within the city. And then I don't know when I'll be able to be coming back to re-inspect it. And she handed us, she's our regional elevator, she handed us the Rockford instruction, she's out of Chicago, and said, this is what they're doing and this is what we're recommending across the state to do.
Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan.
under this structure, who gets charged for the inspection services?
The city is billed $22 for the annual inspection costs, and for each elevator, as well as $5 to bill the owner of the elevator, and $5 for the printed certificate, so $32. And again, just to make sure that all of our costs are covered, or I guess speaking on behalf of the city of Rockford, who I've been working with very closely, they add on an additional $100 to all these fees, just so there's more than a safe enough buffer that they're not losing money on this deal.
We're not proposing at this time the additional $100. We're still in discussing with the staff at what level we should be charging internal to the city.
Follow-up, Mayor? Previously, or as it is currently today, the OSFM goes out, and does the OSFM then bill the businesses or the entities directly?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going from a structure where OSFM at the state level does the inspection statewide, bills the businesses, to they're recommending that we have all these municipalities enter into these contracts. These contracts are cheaper, we're seeing, than what they're being charged for the OSFM. So the only real difference is going to be localized inspections across the states through contracts with the municipality, whereby the municipality gets billed and then we bill the entity. But it should result in savings for the entities that are receiving the inspection services?
Yes, and in Rockford, this EIS company performs all of the billing work. So so our cost basis is the $32, and there can be a discussion how much, to make sure all of our costs are covered, how much we want to add on to that.
Final thought, Mayor. Thank you. Do you comfortably believe that you'll be able to come to a fee structure that is lower than what these entities are currently being charged by OSFM, but still meet all the expenses that the constituents locally are paying?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Alderman Ross.
I'd just like to know, how many elevators is the city of Freeport responsible for?
Well, OSFM didn't have even an accurate number. It's approximately 134, according to the state. So that kind of shows you the condition of OSFM.
Well, I mean, within the city of,
Yes.
I mean, just the city of,
Freeport.
Within the city, yes.
okay, thank you.
Alderman Burberry.
I was going to ask the same question. Thank you very much.
Beat you.
Well, Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan.
since it appears that this is a proposal for cheaper localized control, I would move to accept the bid openings, or the bids as presented at the bid opening on July 30th, 2019.
I'll second it.
Either one.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Ross for the approval of the bids. Unless there's further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Misick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 19 is approval of bids that were opened on July 30th, 2019 for South Float Avenue water and sanitary sewer replacement. Manager Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we conducted the bids, Deputy, I was in negotiations with IAFF this time, so Deputy City Manager Bucas sat in on this along with Director Carr and Director Kopansky. We received 5 bids, Fisher being the lowest bid. There is a mistake in the memo. It wasn't $120,000. It was if you look at it, it was more in the area of about 80,000 or 70,000, excuse me, difference in the Fisher being low under the engineering estimate. but Fisher is the low bidder. Fisher is currently doing the work on float, so they have a good, I think that's probably why they were low bidders. They have a good feel for what they're being doing. And if this is approved tonight, Fisher will just continue on with the work as long as the building season goes on. It'll be, in fact, they're getting ready to cross Empire right now on Float Street. We're putting out the notification and this work, and this will go down the remainder of Float. And it's replacing both water main, sewer, and then once we get all of that replaced, we're going to come back and resurface it.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Parker.
I'll make the motion to approve the bid.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross for the approval of the bid as stated. Is there any further discussion, council? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The bid is approved 8-0.
Thank you. Item number 20 is approval of the Historic Preservation Commission Facade Improvement Grant Award as recommended. Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Some of you might recall on March 4th of this year, before two of you even arrived, the City Council approved facade improvement program awards for 4 properties, but delayed awarding a 5th, 26 South Galena, that's owned by Ron London, until some damage from a fire that occurred in September of 2017 at that location was repaired and passed a final inspection by the city's building inspector. That occurred on July 18th, and the building inspector determined that the fire damage has been repaired and the building's in accordance with the building code and our ordinance standards. Therefore, we would ask for approval of this facade improvement program award.
Mayor?
Alderman Meissick.
So question, what's the amount of this?
He, on his application, expects to spend approximately $24,633.65. He's asking for $8,633.65.
The program's a 50-50 match on the program, so they can match up to 50%, and it's up to $15,000 if they do 2 sides.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Bradshaw.
Thank you. Director Zupkoff, is the reason he's asking for a smaller amount than what we normally would allow, is it because of he has insurance from the fire damage?
You know, I was kind of curious about that too, how he could have asked for more, but he didn't. I frankly haven't asked him that. I just kind of accepted the application.
Okay.
And this might be an afterthought, but any idea why he's contracted a painter out of Colorado?
Yeah, that was brought up by a prior council, and although the business address is in Colorado, it does have Freeport ties. So I believe they used to be in Freeport at one point, or they even still might have family here in Freeport. So it's not entirely out of state.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Bradshaw.
Thank you. I know that painter, and that painter is intending to move back to Freeport. Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Borneman.
I notice on, Director, I notice on his application, he lists 202.5 West Main multiple times, and this is for 26 Galena. I know they're right, I believe they're right next to each other. Is there a reason 202.5 West Main is?
That goes on to Galena and Main, so it actually has 2 addresses. It is the same building.
Right. This is for the Galena address only?
It's the whole building. It's just 2 addresses for the same building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Bradshaw.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Bradshaw, seconded by Alderman Parker for the approval of this facade grant award. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. We will move on to department head reports. Finance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just to give you a brief update, we received our second property tax payment today. It was a very small amount, but was something that we could add to the coffers. After the September payment, we'll see our next big payment in October. Secondly, we've set the dates to meet with 3 software companies in September, and we'll be meeting with them on September 11th, 19th, and 25th, after which we'll make a determination and be recommending a software company for council to approve so we could upgrade our software, our financial software. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Similar to the intergovernmental agreement with IDNR that was approved this evening, we're working with DCO on the final stages of some grants that will allow us to acquire and demolish, I should say, 17 additional vacant properties east of the Pecatonica. Unlike the IDNR agreement tonight, all of those 17 do have buildings on them that would be demolished. These funds from IDNR and DCO are all related to vacant properties, and as we discussed prior, that means we don't have to include those vacant properties in the pre-disaster mitigation grant, so that can be focused more on occupied properties. It can provide the additional funds for the occupied properties that these IDNR and DCO funds cannot.
What did you say that amount was?
There's a $100,000 grant and a $200,000 grant. That together will acquire and demolish 17 properties now.
Thank you. Manager Crowe, did you have anything that Public Works wanted to convey this evening?
I do not.
And Fire?
Thank you, Your Honor. Fire Department participated in Flight Radio's Back to School Unity Bash at Crape Park on August 3rd. We had a structure fire at 328 West Chestnut. It was a garage fire on July 27th at 5:45 p.m. The garage fire was fully involved and involved 4 exposures also. Heat damage to 4 exposures. No one was injured in the fire, and the building was a total loss. Ironically, that same building had been cited for some repairs by community development. I attended my first retiree get-together with Terry Brashaw, and enjoyed that evening with Sally and family. It was an honor to be there and be invited to be part of that celebration, so thank you very much. That's all I have to report this evening.
Thank you. Police?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to thank you and Council and City Manager Crowe for the opportunity to serve the citizens in the city of Freeport. I can't express enough how welcoming everybody's been, how forthcoming they've come to help with the transition, whether it be here at City Hall, whether it be over at the police department, or in general, other people that I've met and employees of the city. I've been very impressed with how welcoming everybody has been. I'd also like to invite members of the council to stop and see me so we get to know each other and discuss concerns that you might have, or give me tips on where you would like to see the police department head. Granted, I will be short-term in that office, but I'm a good listener, so please take me up on the offer. Okay?
Thank you very much. And Water and Sewer?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to go and expand on what Manager Crowe said about the Empire and Float intersection shutdown. We plan that to start tomorrow, look to conclude by Friday. There's a bunch of work that has to be done, and that's what will be going on. The other item or two is that we currently are doing hydrant flushing throughout the city, so that's currently going on, and I expect it to go at least another week, maybe a little longer. And if you're in the arcade or at addresses south of Empire, we have the fire hydrant painting to go and take place. Vendor came on board last week Tuesday, and I expect them here till the end of the month. That's all.
Thank you. IT, did you have anything? And Library?
Good evening. I don't have my heels on, so I'm extra short today. But so some exciting news from the library that we've kept under wraps unless you've been reading all of our board minutes. We were able to purchase new computers for all of our patrons. If any of you have been in the library, it is one of the things that you would have immediately noticed how terrible they were. They were very out of date, slow, bogged down. Checking email just to log in and get your email up would take 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm happy to report that in the coming weeks you'll see a marketing push from us. We have almost completed installing and setting up all of the computers. So the next question is, how did we pay for it? We, over the years, have been depositing money into our capital equipment fund, and that is funded by our, when we take some of the fees in for printing, copying, faxing, all of the above, all of that money gets put into that account. And over several years, it has built up, but no money has been spent out of it. So we made that decision, and we can also report that everybody is very happy. The patrons that came in to use the computers every day have had nothing but very positive things to say about it and are very excited about it. So, and I've already noticed an increase of the number of people using the computers, and it's only been about 3 weeks since we started installing. So, and summer reading is officially over on Friday, and our pool party is on Saturday evening. Not to be overdone by cruise night, but we'll have stuff at the library for cruise night as well. So Saturday's a busy day for us, but that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. And Kirsten.
Thank you. So this week is the first of a few application day events for the census. So it's a chance for people to come and use computers, have access to computers to apply for different U.S. Census jobs. So the first event on August 7th, this Wednesday from 11 to 2, it's at the Blackhawk Elementary School. And then the next event will be on August 14th at the Freeport Public Library. And then our last one will be at Highland Community College on Monday, August 26th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Manager Crow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Going back, so maybe I did have some stuff for on Public Works. We're getting ready to start Woodside Drive as well as the Wild Oats area. We've put the notifications out and notified all the residents in that area that we're getting ready to start. We've also started the work up in the vicinity of the new water treatment facility, starting the water, sewer, and road work in preparation for drilling the well and up on near Birch Water Tower and beginning to get that prepped so we can bid out and build the new water treatment facility up there. Also, I'm happy to announce that at 6:36 this evening, Brooklyn Ann Carr was born weighing 7 pounds 4 ounces. So I know he is. His wife has been in some form of labor all weekend, so I know he was glad that finally happened. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I have a few things for council to know about for this week. A lot of things going on for the listening public as well. The high school, the Summer University Theater, is presenting the Broadway hit musical Oliver. It starts on Thursday night and ends on Sunday afternoon. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Jeanette Lloyd Theater is 7 p.m. And then Sunday there's a matinee at 3 o'clock. So be sure and avail yourself to that entertainment for this week. Also, Friday night is the downtown event of the Sock Hop, and that starts at 5:30. And Saturday at 10 o'clock is the back-to-school event at the King Center. So if you want to participate in that, the King Center has a back-to-school event. And then, of course, we also have Saturday night is our cruise night in the downtown, which will bring thousands of people. So there's still spaces if anyone cares to volunteer. It starts at 4 o'clock and ends at 9. So cruise night is presented by J.H. Barco. So we thank him for his involvement every year in that citywide event. So that's all I have. And so Alderman Borneman.
Thank you. Just briefly, Neighborhood Watch for the First Ward. I was out of the state for work purposes during when it should have been last month, so it's been rescheduled to August 27th, 6 p.m. at the Schwartz Funeral Home on Park Boulevard. So then we'll continue on our normal scheduled every other month. September would be the next, but August 27th is the next Neighborhood Watch for the First Ward meeting. And I'd also like to welcome aboard Chief Fython.
And Alderman McClanathan.
I'd like to extend a welcome as well. And also note for the Neighborhood Watch that meets on Farmdale in the Second Ward this month. Manager Crow and Mayor Miller will be at that one. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of information and updates that folks will want to see for that.
Alderman Ross.
Yes, I'd like to extend my welcome to the chief, too. I just can't pronounce your last name correctly.
Fython.
Fython. Got it. Thank you. No other comment.
And Alderman Parker.
Join the rest of them. Welcome. Thank you.
And Alderman Busker.
Just keep echoing around the room. Welcome. I have nothing else this evening.
And Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've already extended my welcome to you. I hope you enjoy Freeport as much as we do. That's it.
And Alderman Misick.
Yes, really nice send-off. Mayor Miller, Manager Crow, and all those involved in setting up the event to honor Chief Barkalow. Very bittersweet seeing him to leave. But Chief Fython, we're very happy to have you come on board and help us through a really critical time in the city. So we thank you for coming on board and serving us in Freeport.
You're welcome.
And Alderman Berberet.
Nothing to report, but I would also like to take the chief up on his offer to come visit. Be over there one of these days. Thank you.
Okay, that leaves us with item number 25, which is public comment. Tommy.
I want to thank Steve who, your name is Steve what? Feynman.
Bill.
Bill, and he's graduating you a police chief now for
Thank you, Tom.
and I want to thank Joey Miller had me speak about Todd Bargo, and we're going to miss him very much, so that's.
Thank you, Tommy. Is there any other public comments? Seeing none, item number 26 is executive session. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C11, litigation, when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the findings shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity.
Thank you. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Misick. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Misick.
Aye.
Berberet.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan. Ross.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
The motion passes 8-0.